Hi, guys. Hope you're
Hello.
all
Hi,
doing
Bill.
well this
Hi, Bill. Hi,
weekend.
Brian.
Welcome to the Comeback Cast. This is going to be our second podcast that we're giving, and it actually happens to fall right before Thanksgiving. And so we thought, at least for those of our who are American-based viewers, Thanksgiving is a big holiday here, and it's also a very important time where a lot of us get very reflective on things that have happened and mostly things that we're thankful for and maybe even some things that um, in my family, for example, we go around the table and each one of us talks about something that we're thankful for, that has happened since the last Thanksgiving. And so I wanted to kick it off a little bit and, have Brian and Burke also tell their stories. But it's funny. I was on a business trip this week, and I was talking to a younger colleague who was, kind of asking me, how I ended up doing, actually what I'm doing. I was talking about my writing and my podcast and things like that. And so, I looked back and I thought it was 4 years ago, which really isn't that long. And I'm, looking back to Thanksgiving in 2021, I had just lost my father, who passed away, and then a couple months later, actually, it was Thanksgiving weekend, my father-in-law passed away, and it was kind of like my job wasn't going well. I think I've mentioned before I wasn't happy with my manager and the situation. We had come out of COVID. We were in these, massive changes, and I was just tired. And I was demotivated. Dealing with the losses in my family, and so that was 4 years ago. And to me, it feels like it was about 50 years ago because the things that happened since have been pretty significant. So I remember thinking about leaving this company I've been with for 30 years and striking it out, doing, kind of really no idea, and how terrifying that was. Still having a family. I'm, more or less a sole provider financially for the family, and thinking, what the heck am I doing? But also knowing that I had to do it. It was just a very, I don't know, kind of interesting situation. And so
So, Bill.
when I look back,
So,
what I'm
Bill.
thankful for is that
Bill.
I had this thing. We, in the hero's journey, we talk about the monster, the challenge, the, whatever that is. And that was my monster. It was actually kind of driven by myself. I mean, I could have stuck it out and stayed where I was and things like that, but I think it was seeing my father's mortality and my father-in-law's that, I'm like, is this it? Sitting here in a job I'm really not happy with, all these things that, I'm living for other people. I'm not really doing the things that I'm passionate about. And so I took the leap, and it was absolutely terrifying. I will admit, for the first, several months. But I'm so thankful that, I always say this about my father. When he passed away, he really kicked off two things for me. His gift to me was ultimately take care of yourself, which I wasn't doing health wise. And this, look how fast this goes. My father was 23 years older than I am, as is my mother now. And I was like, whoa. It was kind of this realization that I've got to get off the stick and do something different. So yeah, so I am really thankful for my father and my father-in-law for, you know, the lessons they taught me, but also somehow inspiring me to make this next jump in my life, which, yeah, I'm thankful for, and I learn every day. And I always say to people, staying in your comfort zone means you're not growing. And by the very fact that change takes you out of your comfort zone is the whole reason why you grow, because you have to adapt and you have to learn, and sometimes it can be uncomfortable, and we're doing this every day. So that's what I'm thankful for. Brian, Burke, I'd love
So,
to
Bill,
hear your ideas.
if I can ask you a few questions before we go to Burke,
Sure.
or for comment, because I think that what's really interesting is both of those in your world, at least from my off-camera discussions with you, all of them are really tragic events at the time that they're occurring.
Yeah.
And yet today, some time has passed, however long it is, and here you are being thankful for tragedy. And I think that really ties into the hero's journey and things that we've talked about. Do you want to expound upon that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I miss my father, and I'd much rather he be here than if he wasn't here. But it was the fact that we all eventually die, and the fact that he was, it was something. He's my first parent to lose, and it's a big adjustment, and it's a shakeup to your family, and things like that. I think it's always easier to look back and say I'm thankful for it. I don't think I was necessarily thankful for it going into it. And, like I said, and I often wish I could talk to him and thank him and show him, kind of what I learned from him over the last 4 years and how I've been able to move on. So, yeah, it's a tragedy, but I think, what did I do with that tragedy? I could have stayed the same. I could have burrowed into a hole, or I could have done what I did. And I, so to me, it's like the reaction and what I did about it to the tragedy. But you're right. And I think so many people do end up, in this situation, which is a tragedy, whether it be medical or job, losing a job or whatever. And it's ultimately then, what did I do about it? How did I react to it? And really controlling the things you can control. So it's a great question.
And that's the hero's journey.
Yeah.
That is the hero's journey.
You mentioned earlier, Bill, that you were with a younger colleague this week and that this topic sort of came to your mind because of him asking you how you got to where you are. How can you relate that to this story and to that younger person?
Yeah, well, everybody has that older person that's always like, live life to the fullest and it goes so fast and all that. The remarkable thing that was kind of funny is that he thinks I'm like what he wants to be. It's like I've got it all figured out and blah blah blah. And I told him, it's like it's easy to look back and say, yeah, now I see the path. Once you've made the path, the difficult thing is, looking forward into the trees or into that big field, not being sure which way to go. And so what I told him is, don't play it safe. I mean, you've got to obviously he has two young kids, a wife who's works and everything. But I said, don't live so much for your job that you forget to live for yourself. And I think so many people in my age group that I've met have done just that. And then they come to, I'm 62 and I come to that realization only in the last couple of years. And so I just, my perspective on him was try to just take that road less traveled, the thing that you're afraid to do. There's always going to be kids you got to take care of, or somebody you've got to take care of, or money challenges or whatever. but do it anyway, and do it in a smart way. You don't have to jump in whole hog right away, but try things. And I don't know. I think every little step, every stone you step on across the stream, you get to a different place. And so try it. That was my advice to him. Great question, though. Thanks.
Bert, your time. Tell us.
Yeah, so great. That was really interesting, Bill. And I realized as you were speaking, I'm going to keep it positive and keep thankful. Our theme here on Comeback Cast is positivity. But I realized as you were speaking that I lost my father almost, it will be 3 years this week.
Yeah.
So a year after you, he was a great dad and I miss him too, but he was suffering. And so I was, as weird as it is to say, I was glad because he was suffering. It was very hard on my mother. I've been really interested to see, and at the time, you don't know, but I thought, gosh, I wonder what's going to happen with my mom. They've been married for 54 years. Is she going to go down or is she going to go up? And she's not that she would ever come on YouTube, and I can't even figure out how to get this YouTube channel on her iPad, which is an 84-year-old woman with no cell phone, but we got her an iPad because she wants to watch it. She reads our Substack articles. Well, I show them to her because we can't get that on our iPad either. We're going to get her a new iPad for Christmas. But she's been a great example of Comeback Cast because he was suffering. He had a good life, but the end was very difficult. And she was his caregiver. And once he was gone, she's done a great comeback. She's lives by herself. She drives herself around. She's down in Palm Springs with my sister and my brother-in-law. But the rest of the year, she lives at the beach, and she's done a great job of making a comeback. So I'm proud of her, and it's been a nice story to see. But a commonality with you and I, Bill, is losing our fathers this coming week, and I am very thankful for him. My thankful thing for this week and comeback that I'm making is I started a new job. So Brian and I, and all three of us have been through job change. Brian and I went through one in August. We worked together for 7+ years. Brian was my manager in my past job. That's the longest I've ever had the same boss in my 35 years. I'm about to be 58. I never had the same boss for 7 years until Brian. So we went through transition together from that company. That was the genesis of the Comeback Cast. Bill had worked with us as an advisor when we were at that company. So again, 58 years old, probably not the demographic that a lot of companies are looking for. I was fortunate to have some interim work to do, some consulting work. And this week I went back to corporate America. So very interesting there. My current manager, who's been my manager for 5 days, was notified that he is being let go. And so he is, and I give him tremendous credit because he learned this a couple of days before I was hired, or before I started. I was hired, but not started. So they're giving him that news as he has a new guy coming in to an industry that I'm very familiar with. So fortunately, it's not a learn the business. It's a learn the intricacies of that company, which there's a lot to learn. It's a large company, $4 billion global company. So this guy, very nice guy, he lives in Tennessee, one of our offices in Tennessee, learns that he's losing his job the Thursday before I start. I started this Monday. Couple days kind of quiet. There's a lot to do when you start in these companies. There's onboarding, there's compliance classes, a lot of online learning you have to do. So it was okay. But finally he came and talked to me yesterday or Thursday and said, "Hey, I'm not going to be around. I'm going to stay here." And again, very gracious, and I'm thankful for him. He said, "I'm going to stay till kind of early December to train you." And then he's going to be gone from a job he's had for 15 years. He has a kid in college, a kid in private high school, and a kid in junior high. So I think at least the message we're conveying here, he's going to need, because this is a great transition for him. But back to my positivity, I've been at the new job for 5 days. I'm thankful because I'm back working with Brian. I don't work for Brian yet.
We're thankful for that. Very thankful for that.
Well, my gut tells me it's not going to be long.
Yeah.
In learning what the people are, and there's some people I think I'm going to manage. I think they're going to peel out the people that do what Brian and I do, and say, Burke, you go back with Brian, take your people, and go do what you guys do. So that's my hypothesis. I do not know, even if I don't.
I don't know either.
The good news is, even though he's not my direct manager, Brian still tells me stuff to do. So, and I will say, I was thankful yesterday because Brian asked me to help him with a project. It wasn't excessively difficult, but you need to know how to do what I did. And through the joy of AI, people could figure it out a lot easier than you used to be able to. Because it used to be a very difficult thing to do. Now it's easier, but Brian sort of asked me to help him. I got on a couple of calls, and it's really gratifying your first week at work where you feel you don't know anybody, you don't know the people, you don't know where to go, you get some direction, but not what takes time. So it was gratifying for me to be able to do something in an industry I do know. I very, very strong in it, as is Brian in our industry. But to be able to do something and contribute that then Brian was kind enough to kind of share with 8 or 10 people. Hey, we got this because of the corporate way our systems work. I had to give everybody permission to see what we did. So half of those people are going to go, who's this guy? But at least there's some value. So I'm thankful for that. Obviously, I'm thankful to have a new job. The benefits, big company comes with big company problems and big company issues, but it also comes with big company benefits and stock options and 401ks and all those things. So as I look to my future journey, which is hopefully 7 or 8 more years in corporate America, I just had a 7.5-year run in my last job. This might take me to the end. Maybe our end will be in a year, Brian, and we'll just do comeback cast. We don't know. But the leaps have certainly been in this last, for me, 90 days, where 90 days ago, I was very focused on my job, my personal relationships, of course, but and then I had 90 days of uncertainty. And we started Comeback Cast, which I would have never thought I'd be on YouTube. I had no clue how to do a YouTube channel. I've never heard of Substack before. Now we're putting articles out on Substack. I never even knew what that was. So not as quite as long a time frame as you, Bill, but 90 days of change for me, 90 days of doing things I didn't think I could do or would do. I consulted with my sister, who owns a woman-owned staffing company, and staffing. Brian and I laughed about being staffing adjacent. Our industry supports staffing, but I'd never done it. So that was fun. I hope we can get her to come on here someday.
That'd be great.
Yeah, she's done a lot of really cool things, both professionally in general, but also as a woman. She's currently doing a side job that no woman's ever done before. So hopefully we'll get her someday. But thank you, Bill, for the opening, and Brian, I'm going to pass it over to you, unless you guys have questions.
I actually have a question for you, Burke, and I remember. So I've known, for those of you who are watching this, I've known Brian and Burke for about 3 years, and so they didn't know me before this new phase of my life. Burke, the one thing that I remember, and Brian, we can talk more when you speak, is I remember the first call we had about Comeback Cast, and you were talking about, like, I had a couple bad moments today. I'm, doing better. And can you, just share a little bit about kind of the scary part that, because I look at you now and I think this guy never got stressed out. But I just remember that one time where you were like a little vulnerable. Like I could tell you were having a tough day. What got you through it?
That's a good question. You guys having this purpose helped a lot. I went through a similar situation about 12 years ago with a company that I wasn't the founder, but I started very early in the company and was building it and was shown the door. Um, I won't bore you with the story, but that was really, really bad. And it was right after I'd gotten divorced. Then all of a sudden I lose a job I never thought I could lose because of all the money I had raised, the money I'd put in. So that was a really hard lesson. And I think going through that helped me 12 years later to say, hey, it's going to be okay. And I'm going to find something. Brian and you, Bill, came to me within a couple of days. So this started to give me something to think about. That was it, really.
Yeah.
That's the answer is I had something else to think about.
Yeah.
I started thinking about Comeback Cast. Back then we didn't have a name. So I was thinking about names. I was thinking about topics for this YouTube.
Yeah.
That was great. I started working with my sister kind of on a consultative basis. I had some impact there. Having something else to think about other than I lost my job. What am I going to do for benefits? What about my kids? What about my bills, my mortgage, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I found things positive to think about, and that got me through.
That's great. No, and it definitely came through, and I appreciate you sharing that. Brian, anything that you want to add, or do you want to jump into your story?
I'm going to jump in and go from there because I think it's somewhat similar. I do really to compliment Burke and yourself on this story that you've shared is truly the opportunity to get together on Comeback Cast. I think has been something I'm very thankful for. It is something that I have desired to try for a number of years. I used to chuckle at my children the fact that they don't watch TV anymore. They just watch YouTube and wondering why and confused by it. And then all of a sudden I got myself sucked into the whole thing and really started thinking about how could we take a shot at this particular genre and go forward. And I find myself, that's really all I watch anymore because I can get everything that I got from the television on YouTube, whether it be news, whether it be interest, whether it be education, etc. And then I was very thankful that the two of you agreed to do this because doing it by yourself is doable, but I think it adds so much more flavor to the content and also to the story. What I'm also thankful for, and I think basis of the hero's journey and the basis of Comeback Cast is go back to it's funny how lyrics kind of set into your history, that being song lyrics, that being movies. Burke, you're very big into movies, and you know virtually every line of movies, and I can't even remember what movie it is, but you will tell me. There is Rascal Flatts has a song that I think is relative to today, which is God bless the broken, not God, bless the broken road. And I think that's really where I know I sent you guys a Substack article that I think we're going to publish where we got to see another creator on YouTube really sharing the immediate after effects of the broken road, of a job loss, second one in however long, very short period of time. And that's really, I think, also, Bill, what you were pointing out with Burke during those particular days. And I do think it is great, first off, to have a group of people that you can chat with, but also work on growing something. This is kind of our online social club, or however you want to call it, education social club on down the road, one of the things that has happened in today's environment is all of those core things that used to happen in your local community have oftentimes been fractured and don't exist. And what we're trying to provide here with, and we have, I'm thankful for us having that, that support group, social club, all those things right here that we share with the audience on our weekly journey. And I think that's one of the main things I'm very thankful for. I also think, I think it was you, Bill, in your story, and Burke, it also ties to your dad and your mom and how quick it has gone to. But the Kenny Chesney song, somebody help me with the lyric there, where he's talking to the gentleman and he says it happens in a flash. He's 100.
Yeah.
Anybody know what?
Yeah.
What that song is? It's something like, I don't remember. If the audience can write it in our comments, that would be great. But yes, that is the other factor, is time is precious. And as we go forward, and I guess that, I sound like an old man, even though I am an old man. But it's what you always heard growing up is, hey, you're 13 years old and something happens and it's devastating. And, and somebody along the line who grabs you, puts their arm around your shoulder and says, it's going to be okay. Believe it or not, you barely even remember that this happened, etc. And while that may be true, there's also plenty of those times where, hey, I distinctly remember exactly where I was when that happened. But the reason I distinctly remember it is that I used that as the pivot point to get me to another spot. And again, we keep coming back to the hero's journey because it is so fundamental to, I think, our stories in our channel, is that it's okay to be vulnerable, to feel pain, and as I say oftentimes at work, failure is not something you should hide from. Failure is good, provided you do one thing, that you learn, that you figure out, okay, what did this teach me? How do I take these lessons and do something productive forward? And I think that also is a core portion of the hero's journey, is that the character, whoever that may be, is, and I think you say, Bill, protagonist, I'm not an author, so I defer to you, is that they are taking that and learning from it and developing beyond. So I'm thankful for all of that. I think that has been a core part of my life. And I think that's a core part of what we're trying to deliver here.
That's great. Brian, I just had a question / observation for for the people watching this that don't know a lot about you. You are like the mental version of the Energizer Bunny, in my perspective. You are, constantly, I know you founded companies, you've got a number of different projects besides Comeback Cast going on. What's your thought process? I mean, what I admire is that you just jump right in and you go. You don't, this is Bill's view of the world. You don't sit there and, ruminate over it. You just jump in and do it. And what's kind of your, if that's correct, what's your kind of secret on that, or your advice?
I'm not sure where that started, but I can tell you that once you become what they call a bootstrapped entrepreneur, what bootstrap means is that you're self-funded. So it's your own money. And it is one of the scariest things. So Burke raised money, and it was other people's money. And yes, that's terrifying. You don't want to lose. You don't want to lose theirs, but when it's 100% your money and your partner's money, that causes you, I think, to get a little bit more jump right in and just do it because there's no choice. And it goes to one of the other factors when it's hard to take somebody, for example, from a big corporation down to a little startup, because you have to learn that okay, well, where's my resources to do that? Where's my team? Oh, you have a team. Okay, who? I can't wait to meet him. I said, okay, look in the mirror, right? Because it's here and it's there. It's like just like us on Comeback Cast. It's the three of us. That's it. And I think that experience from 2003 to today causes me to do that. But also, again, getting rid of that fear of failure. And that is actually also one of the things about when I started watching YouTubes and such is that you don't worry about it. And you're going to have haters. You're going to have people that say negative things, whatever is okay. Don't worry about it. You want to talk about my weight? You want to talk about my hair? You want to talk about whatever? Who cares? Whatever. So, and also trying to be, I think once you have family too, trying to be an example for your family. Is one of the factors. Good question. Thank you.
Brian, I have a question. It's a little more lighthearted, but as our channel grows, there will undoubtedly be comments, and this is probably going to be our only episode where you have two lightsabers behind you. Could you maybe talk about why you have those behind you and why this is a special episode that probably this is the only time we get to see them, from what I understand? You could give me more detail.
Yeah, well, today I am redesigning my studio to add some sound aspects, which are curtains and lighting behind, etc., so that it's not just this white blank wall, and also something that will keep it from bouncing quite as hard as it is. Since I changed my direction of my desk, I think what's happening for me is that I'm getting the monitor right here, bouncing there, etc. So the lightsabers go behind because it adds some flavor once you're going to see curtains. Nothing special.
And we should probably announce to all of the audience watching that you are actually a Jedi.
Yes. I wish.
He can jump and swirl around that thing, those lightsabers, like nobody's business.
Yeah, my dreams.
Great, guys. I know we're about at the time here, but first of all, thank you for sharing your stories. I think about the future and the economy. You hear one company, I think it was Verizon's, cutting 13,000 jobs. I mean, a lot of this with AI coming in, there's a lot of disruption going on out there. And I know everybody that watches this, what I'll tell you is just keep your nose going forward and keep trying things and keep stumbling, because the journey is ultimately the thing that is going to get you where you need to go. And Brian, you mentioned it in terms of risks and making mistakes. As long as you learn from it, you're constantly going to be moving ahead. So I think, from the three of us, it's obvious that taking those chances and some of the setbacks that we had actually were rocket fuel for the comebacks that we had. And so, I think that that's such an important message and really very key to why we decided to start this. So to the two of you and your families, wishing you, my colleagues here, all a wonderful Thanksgiving. And to everybody listening, hope that your Thanksgiving is going to be enjoyable and also something that you can look back on your own story and say, wow, those are things that could have really been big boulders in my way, but I was able to get right over those, and just continuing to do that. So anyway, So thanks, guys. And I know we will be back next week after Thanksgiving with our next episode. But anybody that's listening to this, if you got any ideas of topics that we can share or discuss, and if you'd like to be a guest on our podcast and you have your own story to tell, please just send us a comment in under the YouTube video that you see. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody and wishing you all a great week ahead.
Agreed. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right. Take care.